BMWs are built for drivers. They have excellent road feel, you sit in the car, great control, just a blast to drive. You just fit in it real well. It just goes around the corners intuitively. Well, you know, I guess it all leads back to the M1, the faded Pro Car Series. After that, they went into racing the sedans and then into the 6 Series. And then at one point they decided, well, we needed to come up with a new concept for the then coming 80s DTM Touring Car Championship. E30 M3 was introduced in 1987 for the DTM Championship, and then we saw it a year later, introduced into the US showrooms in 1988. You know, an E30 M3 it's a true factory production race car. It is totally from soup to nuts a different type of vehicle. There's very few parts that are shared with the standard car. The engine is a really interesting story because it actually was derived from the M1 6-cylinder. Alex von Falkenhausen went to engine guru Paul Roche and said, make me a 4-cylinder for a touring car for this class. And they actually cut out 2 cylinders in the M1 engine, and so began the legend of the S14. As far as BMW goes, it was the true production race car. You could just go out and buy it, take it to the track, and win your class easily. The car was originally designed to compete against Mercedes and their 190e 2.316 and the Audi Quattro cars. And as history tells us, they were quite successful with it. Well, you know, it's a dream to own one. When they first came out, it wasn't a real popular car. It was fairly expensive. It was powered by a 4-cylinder. It had these flares. They sat on showrooms forever and ever. And finally, eventually they were scooped up and people realized, well, this is a pretty special car. The E36 came out to the US market in 1995, and boy, were we shortchanged. We got plastic headlights, standard 325 engine, bored out on steroids, and not much else. In the meantime, the Europeans got the really killer 287 horsepower, 3-liter with Vanos and many more options. But yet the US spec E36 had the same performance values as the European version. I don't know if it was the redheaded stepchild or what they consider it, but it was never hugely popular. Later on, as it has gotten older, it has become hugely popular as a easily modifiable and hugely dependent track car. Performance is pretty acceptable. It's not a world beater. They make pretty good horsepower, pretty good torque, but the combination works really well on track. E46 came out in the US in 2001. BMW sharpened their pencils on this car. It was more focused, more refined. This was the introduction of the successor to the Euro S50 engine, the S54. Very reliable engine, a screamer, 333 horsepower stock, right out of the box, just a wonderful car. The interior is much nicer than an E36. One of the knocks on the E36 is that how cheap the interiors were. The E46, they raised their level quite a bit. Much more comfortable, quieter. The car was very accurate to drive on track, even on the street. It's a wonderful car. Great development. It was quite a huge leap from the E36. E90 came out in 2007. It's more towards the luxury side, the easier to drive side, a little bit heavier, but it had a wonderful V8 that just made up for everything. Well, by this time, you've got Audi and Mercedes, or should I say Mercedes and Audi, hot on BMW's heels. Audi with their RS6, Mercedes with their AMG cars. You've got some serious competition at this point. I'd have to say the best feature about the new M3 is the S65 V8. That thing sings a beautiful song. Well, you know, there's been a lot of talk about the 1M being the successor to the M3, and in many aspects it is, but I don't think there'll ever be a successor to the E30 M3 ever. There's a huge excitement coming out about the new F80 M3, and we're all looking forward to the introduction of it. It's going to be turbocharged 6-cylinder and should be pretty interesting. Should be able to fill the niche between gas mileage, performance, and handling.